Podcasting is all about great stories. However, as an audio format, there is still a bit of production involved. In this video, I want to talk about 3 basic podcast editing techniques that I use every day. Hi, it's Mike from Casefile and Casefile Presents. On this channel, I'm releasing videos on podcasting and audio production, so if you enjoy the content, hit subscribe and notification buttons. And the last technique that shouldn't be overlooked are fades. When you cut dialogues, when you cut audio or any sort of audio really, you should create a crossfade between the clips. Otherwise, there will be a click on that cut, and the click happens when the waveform, the ending on the waveform from the previous clip does not match the waveform, the start of the waveform from the next one. It's just like that. That's when the click most likely will happen. Now let's jump into Pro Tools so I can show you how I use fades and why I use them. The last one I want to talk about are fades and crossfades, which are very simple but powerful tool to correct your edited dialogues. Fades can be used in several different ways, as a fade ins, fade outs, as a creative tool or just a cleanup tool. When you do a cut, now let's say in a dialogue,
the man didn't reply, instead running down a side street and disappearing into...
And you cut there, let's say you want to cut there.
And disappearing into...
There's a cut there, you can sort of fix it with fade.
Side street and disappearing into the night.
Something like that. Or let's say...
We're unharmed.
That T is too loud.
Unharmed.
Let's pretend it's too loud. What I would then do is, rather than go and play with clip gain and all that, I'll put a cut in the middle of it, put a crossfade, and that then I'll play with the loudness and smooth it out at the end.
The dog were unharmed.
So that's one way to do it. The other way would be if I have several clips. Let's create like 3, for example. And each clip is on a separate track. And that's, let's say, it's a different kind of show. After all the cleanups, I would still put fade in and fade outs on each clip. So that's also how...
To flag down anyone who might be able to help. He saw a man in his 30s standing near Cindy's house and called to him, asking the man to phone for assistance.
Stop it. Let's pretend they're different people. So you want to have a constant room tone going between all these sort of clips, but you want a nice fade in and fade out on each out of them. The other way we can use fades is to correct the music. So I'm gonna put it up a bit. So I've got a piece of music there. It starts with a bit of a fade anyway. Okay, so sometimes, maybe we want to start there, or it starts underneath a dialogue. We can move that fade, and you can even sort of adjust the fade as well. So
was putting on his pants when Cindy knocked on his door. She had heard the same noise and asked Tom if he would go with her to investigate. They made their way down the hallway together.
Okay, so that's one way to do it. The other way I sometimes cheat is... stop there. Let's say that cue is 5 minutes 17, but we want to start there. We want to end where it currently sits, but we want to start there. podcasting, especially with this frequent episodes, it's really fast paced. You don't have that much time to go into each Q&A bit and sort of experiment and do a lot of work. So there are shortcuts that I take. And one would be with music. So I can see that this bit I can loop quite easily without much work. So that's where the last note ends. And it goes into another sort of phrase. So I would cut it, and I think around there it would work. So we're creating a loop from that phrase where it ends, and there I would then use fade. So now we got and it works quite nicely. If there was no fade, let's probably use something else with a little bit. Okay, so we want to maybe extend that a little bit. And there is no fade. You heard a click there, right? So a fade will fix that. There's no click. Obviously, the fade won't work as well on the sustained note. So you've got to be aware of that. You can experiment with some other fades, crossfade and whatnot. It would work for equal power, and we'll do that. That would be better for a sustained note. If you wish to do something like that. And then again, remember the bit with the room tone and our audio with the gaps. So we have some gaps here. And we want to use this sort of old-fashioned method with the room tone. Let me just find some kind of a room tone, render it. And if we want to then use this method of having the room tone between the dialogues, then ideally
Cindy explained.
You'd have some kind of a
Cindy explained that this.
That again, I'm exaggerating with the noise, but I just want to show you.
Related to be warned, do as I say.
How it could work. So also, I would prefer to do it with fade in and out rather than crossfades.
Say. Roy Makepeace was South African and spoke with a strong accent.
And then we also got things like pickups. We've also got things like cuts within the sentence itself.
Roy Makepeace was South African and spoke with a strong accent.
So
Roy Makepeace was South African.
Okay, so we want to cut out his surname. Okay, so
Roy was South African.
As you can see, there's a jump there.
Roy was South African.
And a little bit of a bump of a cut, so we can sort of put a crossfade there and try to...
Roy was South African.
Fix it like that.
Roy was South African.
There's a still...
Roy was South African. Roy was South. Roy was South African. Roy was South African.
Okay.
Roy was South African.
It's not ideal because we were cutting in the middle of we were cutting out of the sentence, but
Roy was South African.
you can work this
Roy was South African.
with fades. What I would do instead is I would send it out to RX and correct it there, because that S is sort of what's standing out, and then
Roy was South African.
still probably
Roy was South African.
it's not ideal, but you get what I'm trying to do there. Any kind of cuts, any pickups, any redos, fades will help you with that as well. So these were the 3 basic editing techniques that I use every day, and I hope they will help you on your podcast production journey. That's it for today. I'm Mike Migas. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn about podcasting, you can view the rest of my channel or my website, mikemigas.com. For now, you can share, you can like or subscribe. I'll see you later.